Hey everyone, this is my long-awaited, heavily requested combo and VOD review video for Code Talker on Master Duel. I'm sorry for the wait. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for it, and I understand. While Code Talker and Misplaymaker's written guides and combos are super useful for intermediate Code Talker players such as myself, it can be daunting for newer players, especially those of you that are visual learners, so I'm happy to oblige. I just want to thank them as usual, along with the whole Cynet Codec Discord community. You guys are great. As I mentioned in my deck profile video, I wouldn't be able to play this deck if it weren't for these much better players that are always so eager to teach me, so thank you. As you can see from this very professional looking flowchart that I made using Microsoft Paint, going second is all about access Code Talker, especially with Update Jammer. So as a result, this video will be part 1 of my combo tutorial, and it will focus entirely on going first. And it will primarily be talking about going with the extra link and getting the Ibly lock and all that. So I will make a separate video where I review some ranked replays so you can see the various exotic ways you can get access code and more going second. And I should be able to get that uploaded sometime next week, hopefully, so make sure to stay tuned for that by subscribing and triggering that notification bell. Quick note that I'm showing my deck here as a refresher, but this is not a deck profile video by any means. So if you want the breakdown of my deck profile, check out the video linked in the top right. It goes over every card except Code Exporter. For some reason I forgot to mention it, but it's an additional extender with a wider using condition and a high ceiling. Shout out to I'm an Owl and Saya Satpal, sorry if I messed up your name. Shout out to y'all for catching that in the comments. I'll first go over a couple of bread and butter combos in solo mode, and then I'll show you some replays of actual ranked games online where I go over all my actions step by step. Alright, so for this first combo, let's just pretend the only 2 cards we have in our hand are Lady Debug and either Microcoder or an extender such as a Cypress Converter or a Link Infraflyer. This combo will not get your Ibly out on the other side of the field before 5 summons, so you're not playing around Nibiru. It's not like the most optimal situation to be in, but this will get you your extra link. You won't have the Wicked protection, but you will have the Gachiri protection. If none of this is making any sense to you, I strongly recommend checking out the deck profile video on every card in my deck. As I talk about it, I bring it up, I pull it up into the full description so you can pause and read it, and I strongly recommend you read all the cards before you start trying to combo. So we're gonna start with summoning Lady Debug. Now, if this Lady Debug here was another extender, we wouldn't need to search the extender because we have Microcoder and the extender, which means the Lady Debug would just be baiting out the Ash Blossom. However, since we don't, since this is a Lady Debug and not an additional extender, we're not baiting it out, therefore we need what we don't have. And since we have the Microcoder and we don't have the extender, we're gonna grab the extender. The Cypress Converter works just as well as this. I grabbed the Link Infraflyer because it doesn't matter. In this case, in this hand, if I had these 3 and this wasn't on the field and I had a normal summon, I can normal summon the Debug, and then that ends up baiting out the hand trap. And then if it doesn't bait out the hand trap, you get an additional extender and you do get the Wicked at the end. Anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and link the Lady Debug into the Microcoder and put that into the right extra monster zone, or EMZ. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and use our Microcoder, and that will search for our codec, bread and butter. So now we're gonna go ahead and grab our extender, in this case it's Link Infraflyer, and we're gonna go ahead and summon our transcode talker using Code Talker and the extender. And that's gonna be also in the right EMZ. We're gonna use codec on the transcode. That searches for an Earth attribute, so we're gonna grab our code generator. Then we're gonna activate transcode talker to bring back our Code Talker. Then we're just gonna go ahead and summon, see Code Talker is a Link 2 plus Code Generator. That is a Link 3 Xcode Talker. Treat it as 2 materials and use the Code Generator. At this point in the combo, if you had an extra token on the field and you didn't feel like you'd be able to get rid of it, you could treat the Code Talker as 1 material instead of 2, but since I didn't have anything, I went ahead and treated it as 2 because you want to clean up your board. You don't have unlimited spaces. So for this chain, you can go Codec 1, Code Gen 2, Xcode 3, or Code Gen 1, Codec 2, Xcode 3. As long as Xcoded 3, it doesn't matter. I like going Code Gen 1 because that means I'm finishing the chain with sending something to the graveyard. It just helps me know where I am in the combo, and you'll see why that's confusing in a moment. So we're gonna go ahead and chain block with Xcode Talker by shutting down one of their zones. Now we're going to add our parallel exceed. If one of these were a parallel exceed, you would add something else with Xcode. You do not want 2 exceeds in your hand at the same time. There's another time in this combo where that actually will come up for sure, where I'll have exceed in the hand and I'll be able to search it. Do not search the exceed if you have exceed in your hand. So now it says select one card. Where are we? Well, it says select one card. Normally you're adding stuff to your hand, so you might think, oh, this is a great time to add whatever I want. No, you're sending Dotscaper to the graveyard. So select one card, just pretend it says to send to the graveyard. Normally they say select a card to send to the graveyard. For whatever reason, Code Generator just says select one card. They really should change that for clarity purposes. That sends a Dotscaper, which can just special summon itself from the graveyard. Now, we're gonna grab our transcode talker and our Dotscaper. You might think, oh, we can get our firewall and access code. Sweet. Nope. We're gonna go into inverted. But wait, why would we go down, link down, from a level 3 to a level 2 Code Talker inverted? Here's why. Since we have the exceed in our hand, that means we have a Cyberus monster that inverted can special summon, which means we can put it in the same chain as the codec. So first we do chain link 1 inverted, then chain link 2 codec. And this is so cool. This basically combines, we do not chain the exceed, do not chain the exceed. It basically combines these 2 effects to make it so we searched for Mudskipper, and then we don't summon the exceed because we need this zone to be open for the 4 Mudskipper. So we immediately summon the 4 Mudskipper from the search, which means combining these 2 effects, as long as you use inverted chain link 1, then codec chain link 2, you're able to turn inverted's effect from special summon from the hand into special summon from the deck. 4 Mudskipper is a level 2 or lower, so we can link it into Talkback Lancer. And since we linked away our transcode in the top right EMZ, we can put our Talkback Lancer in the left EMZ. We're going to use our 4 Mudskipper, and now we chain our parallel exceed. Now we're going to search for Gachiri at Ignister. Do not have the other exceed, because otherwise you won't be able to use this effects right here, where it just summons from the deck a copy of it. So now, normally in the combo, if we already have Ibli, and we have the exact same board state, but we have Ibli on their side of the field, the Ibli lock is already installed, at this point we would Gachiri. But since we don't have the Ibli, we don't even have it in our hand, we need to search it. And this is why we take another Code Talker. We need another Code Talker so we can grab these 2, and we don't put it here, we put it on the far right. That's so it's out of the way and we keep this open. Now we use the codec on the Code Talker. That allows us to search for our Ibli. Now we're going to use Gachiri, target the inverted, and then go into our firewall. And now we can use our Talkback Lancer to tribute the Gachiri and bring back transcode. And now it says chain another card or effect. You're like, oh sweet, that means I can use its summon ability to bring out Ibli. Wrong. When it says chain another card or effect, that's not the summon. That's the bounce. That's to target any card on the field to return to the hand. If you see chain, that means it's the bounce. This optional effect, that is the summon. When you see optional effect, it's the summon. When you see chain, it's the bounce. Because if we had used that chain earlier, we would have to bounce something back to our hand. So we would like bounce back, basically bounce the Talkback Lancer back to our hand. That would lose our extra link. We're gonna go ahead and use that. And then we're also gonna use the Gachiri to chain block that. And that will protect our Firewall Dragon from any card effects until the end of the next turn. Again, we do not chain the Firewall. And we will special summon our Ibli. At this point in the combo, if my Lady Debug was another extender, that would be summoned here. First we would get rid of the Ibli, then that would be summoned here, and these 2 would be Wicked. This is going to be VRAINS. It's fine that we don't have the Wicked. It's still a really strong board. The downsides of this combo are you do not play around Nibiru, you do not get the protection of Cyberus Wicked, but you do get an extra link, and you do get an Ibli lock. So we're gonna go ahead and use the Sanctuary, activate that, and then relink the Balinks. Why do we relink the Balinks? Balinks has a graveyard effect to protect any Salamangreat card that you have. That includes your Sanctuary. So if they were to MST your Sanctuary, you could use Balinks to banish it from your graveyard and protect the Sanctuary on the field. And then, why is Sanctuary so important? A lot of people, what they'll do is, let's say they normal summon, and you use your firewall to immediately bounce that normal summon back to their hand, along with something from your graveyard. Now what do? They have to get rid of this Ibli in order to special summon anything. So a lot of the time, they'll put the Ibli into battle position and try to crash it into your Bailings to take the 1000 LP hit and send the Ibli to the graveyard. The problem is, this will not allow them to get rid of the lock and play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of the card Salamangreat Sanctuary. You would set your Bailings to 0 attack, you would spend 500 life points because it costs 1000, and you get 500 back because of the card's attack. So you spend 500 life points to set the Bailings attack to 0. This crashes into this, and neither of them die because they're both at 0. That keeps the Ibli lock in place. That's why we take Sanctuary. But this is your board. You don't have your optimization, or sometimes you don't need optimization. You can grab Conflict. So we won't have anything special about this board other than we do have the Ibli lock, of course. We have the extra link, and we have the protection on firewall. So this is a super basic bread and butter combo. Next, I'll show you what you can do with Lady Debug and Codec as your starting hand. This hand is really, really good. We're just going to pretend that we don't have the code gen. Honestly, all we really need is these two cards. However, we'll pretend we do have the mining, and let's just say, right, we use this, right, we use this effect, but oh no, it gets Ash Blossomed. Oh, what do we do? What do we do? We grab this mining. And let's just say the Cyber's Converter is something useless. It's not useless at all, but let's just pretend it is. That gets us our microcoder. Let's go. So normally, right, we're adding the microcoder through the debug. I was just showing again that the debug can bait out Ash Blossom, and it can just bait out just general hand traps. So now we're gonna go into our code talker using our debug and our microcoder. Again, pretend we don't have the code gen in our hand. So we're going to go ahead and use these two. The sequencing doesn't matter too much. However, what you need more should be chain link 1. What do I need more in this case? Do I need optimization more, or do I need Ibli more? Since we don't have a normal summon, it would be nice to have that optimization to get out Ibli ASAP. However, from last combo, you could see we don't necessarily need optimization to get out Ibli, but it would be really nice to have Ibli in our hand, and we're only going to be able to search this code talker using Codec one time. We're only going to be able to search one dark this combo. So I'm gonna go ahead and put Codec first, because if they manage to negate this, it doesn't matter that I don't get my optimization, because I can do exactly what I did last combo and just summon out the Ibli using the firewall. But since it wasn't negated, like let's say all they had was Ash Blossom, but we made them use it because of the Lady Debug. So now we're going to add our Ibli. And again, we're gonna pretend we don't have code generator. Right now we can transcode using CodeGen and Code Talker, but we're gonna search the code generator using transcode. So we're going to pretend that we don't have the code generator in our hand. And also, we want to get this Ibli out as soon as possible. So we're going to use optimization to get another normal summon, bring out Ibli. And since we've got Ibli out in the first 5 summons, we don't have to worry about Nibiru at all for the rest of the combo. So we're going to use Code Talker as 2 materials, use Ibli. Now we bring out our transcode talker. We're going to use Codec, chain link 1, and then Ibli to chain block. Now, with the codec, we're going to search the code generator. We're going to add that to our hand. Since I already have a code gen in my hand, I can add Kachiri early. I can add a Linkslayer now. I'm just going to go by the combo, the basic bread and butter, assuming that we don't have the code gen. So I'm going to add the code gen. Use the transcode talker to bring back code talker, and then a link 2 code talker plus a code generator equals a link 3 X code talker. I'm going to try and speed through this. So we're going to go code gen 1, codec 2, Xcode 3 to chain block, and I'm just gonna try to get through this pretty fast just because I don't want this video to get too long. It's already getting pretty long, and then we've got a whole VOD review section where you see real games, and you do not want to miss that. We're gonna go ahead and add the Exceed. Again, if you already have Exceed, you add something else, and then select one card. That means send the Dotscaper to the graveyard, use the Dotscaper, send it back. Same exact thing, same. We go inverted, and the difference is coming up. So very slight difference, but it'll result in a much stronger board. So again, we do inverted, chain link 1, codec, chain link 2, and basically with this deck, if you get the transcode on the board with your codec already there, you're guaranteed the extra link, and if you already have the Ibli there, you're guaranteed the Ibli lock as well. So we're gonna go ahead and add the 4-mud skipper as usual. We're gonna summon that straight to the field so that we can search the Gachiri with it. So we're going to go into our Talkback Lancer, use our 4-mud skipper and then chain the exceed to the formud. Remember, chain exceed to formud, not inverted. Exceed gets chained to formud skipper. Then we're going to use the formud to search the Gachiri at Ignister, special summon out the parallel exceed. And the best target for Gachiri at Ignister when you special summon it is inverted, because you've already used the effect, so it doesn't matter if it's negated. Sometimes for flair and style, I like to go ahead and target the exceed. The thing that doing this can do is it can mess you up since it negated its effects. I just like to flex the interaction. Negating its effect makes it stronger. But it also makes it level 8, which means it cannot be linked off into your Link Devotee, for example, which requires 4 or lower. So make sure that if you are going to do this, you are immediately linking it off into your Firewall Dragon, and you're linking the correct one into Firewall Dragon. If this still had 2,000 and it was at level 8, I would not be able to finish my combo. So now our Gachiri is in the graveyard. It activates to protect our firewall from any card effects for this turn and the next turn. Chain, no, we don't want to chain anything. So we're going to go ahead and link our Parallel Exceed, that is technically considered level 4 still, into our Link Devotee. And now that just did an effect. It's like, okay, so now it's saying chain another card. No, we're not going to chain. But what was that effect? That effect made it so for rest of turn, you cannot link summon Link 3 or higher Link monsters. Only 1 or 2 is allowed now. So now we're going to go ahead and use the Talkback Lancer to tribute the Link Devotee. The Talkback Lancer's effect brings back the transcode, and that also uses the Link Devotee's really cool secondary effect to special summon 2 Link tokens. Now it is 2, not up to 2 Link tokens. It's 2 Link tokens. So if you already have something on the field, make sure to count something as 1 instead of 2 when you're linking, or do something to clear the board, because you don't have any space other than these 2 spaces. And that means that if you're gonna have this Devotee and, oh no, I didn't get my Ibli out yet, yes, you would use your Firewall to get out the Ibli, but then you wouldn't get the tokens. That means you wouldn't have the Wicked. But since we already have the Ibli on the field, we do that. We're not going to use our optional effect. We're not going to chain anything. We're going to turn off our toggle, and we're going to go ahead and bring out our Link tokens. These can be used to link, so we're going to use our Talkback Lancer and 1 token to create a Cyberus Wicked. Wicked will protect our transcode and our Firewall Dragon. And then we're going to go ahead and summon and complete the extra link with the Link token on the right, Phalanx. Make sure you put the Wicked on the left EMZ so that it's pointing down and to the right, so that it is pointing at the firewall. We're going to go ahead and activate our Sanctuary that we got from the Phalanx to relink the Phalanx. And now we have a much stronger board because we still got the Gachiri protection on Firewall, but now we've got the Wicked protection. So now we've got the extra link, we've got the Ibli lock. It happened before the first 5 summons, so they couldn't Nibiru us. We played better around hand traps, and we've also got the optimization on board, so this is a little bit stronger of a board. These 2 combos, this one and the one I just showed you, are the most basic bread and butter combos in this deck. Alright, so for this hand, I just wanted to show off what this deck is capable of doing with the Salamangreat package. So a lot of people don't use the salads, but this is why it's so strong. So we're going to start out assuming that all we have is Gazelle and Codec and nothing else. I mean, we can say, oh yeah, we've got the Ibli and the optimization and all that. Honestly, this is all that matters. So right now, Gazelle, we'll activate, we're going to activate, send the Foxy on this. Then we're going to activate the Spinny. Send the Spinny. Doesn't matter. It's not against attack. Normally, when you activate the Gazelle, you wouldn't be sending the Foxy, you'd be sending the Spinny. That is to use this effect, but I mean, I just use the Spinny's own effect to send it to the graveyard. But that's to use that effect to grab the Spinny, send it back to the field. At this point, you have combo, because I can Codec, I can go into my Code Talker, it's dark, which so is Microcoder. I would create a Code Talker, use the Codec to search Microcoder, use the Microcoder and the Code Talker to make transcode, and that's my combo. However, since I have this hand that has Ibli and optimization, I might as well get out Ibli in the first 5 summons. So we're going to go ahead and use the optimization, summon the Ibli, and then we're going to go into our Code Talker. Make sure that this bottom row is clear whenever you're done. So just make sure you have a free space so that you can summon back the Code Talker with the transcode. So we're going to go ahead and Codec, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, the Ibli. put it wherever, it doesn't really matter. I like putting it here because it incentivizes them to try to crash it into the Bailings, which of course won't work because of the sanctuary. Obviously you add the microcoder, but it doesn't matter. At this point, you get your combo. And what's beautiful about this combo is that once you get your transcode talker up and running, we're gonna treat it like it's not. Let's just clear the board, you know, just clear the board. But check this out. When I use this microcoder this way, check this out. I can obviously add that. I can use this microcoder to search. Since I already have codec optimization on the board, I don't need a Cynet mining. Guess what? I can search Cynet conflict. This is Solemn Judgment for Code Talker. It doesn't work with summons, but it's a banish rather than destruction, and it's a permanent banish. They can't activate cards with the same name that was banished until the end of the next turn, so it's almost like a called by, and it has no LP cost, so you don't have to spend 4,000 life points just to negate something. So that's why I take it, because there are niche scenarios just like this where you can use your conflict. So I'm going to go ahead and add the code gen and then go ahead and grab the code talker. At this point in the combo where I did grab the conflict, normally I would grab the optimization and use that to bring out the Ibli, but since I already had the optimization to bring out Ibli, I didn't need it. So that's why we were able to get the conflict. And then at this point, you know what to do next. I've got the code talker, that counts as 2. With the code gen, that's an Xcode talker, and like I said, you do these two first, follow it with Xcode, and that's your full combo. Alright, so super quick, this game goes by super fast because my opponent scoops in the middle of my combo. I just wanted to show what a good clean start looks like when you've got this Lady Debug and Cynet Codec start. So of course, normal summon debug, grab the microcoder, activate the codec, link those into your code talker. Codec 1, coder 2, coder adds your optimization, codec adds your Ibli, activate the optimization, normal summon Ibli, and now I have gotten my Ibli out in under 5 summons, which means that my opponent can no longer Nibiru. Right here, out of habit, I went Codec Chainlink 1, Ibli Chainlink 2, because generally I chain block with Ibli. However, since I already had Code Generator in my hand, I didn't even need the codec search on the transcode. I went ahead and grabbed the Gachiri ad Ignister early here, but a slight correction to sequencing would have been to Ibli 1, then Codec 2, so that you could chain block the Ibli, because it's rare, but it does technically come up sometimes where they can chain to the Ibli and negate it. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our Gachiri ad Ignister early, bring back the code talker, link that with the code gen to grab our Xcode, code gen 1, codec 2, and Xcode 3, but they scoop. Alright, so this is a really good game. I make a huge error at the very beginning. I'm playing against Dragon Link, so fortunately I did go first, but that's a really strong deck. Dragon Link is a strong deck, and I still won despite making a huge error. Let's see if you can spot the error. Did you spot it? So, my mistake was not normal summoning the Lady Debug. It was not searching for the microcoder. It was I skipped a step, because by linking the debug and the microcoder into Code Talker immediately, oh no, I don't have any extenders except for the Exceed. So because of this mistake, I ended up wasting my Exceed. It ends up being okay in the end. I'll show you how. But here's what I should have done instead. A better, more optimal way to do this combo would have been to summon the Lady Debug, use it to search the microcoder, and then link the Lady Debug into our Salamangreat Bailings, because it's a level 4 or lower Cyrus monster. That would give us a Bailings, which, yeah, it would search the Sanctuary, but the reason that we would do it is because it would be a Salamangreat card sent to the graveyard, which means we could use Gazelle's special summon effect. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this from the hand. So, that would have been my extender. I wouldn't need the Exceed. Huge mistake on my part, but it's fine. It works out in the end. So I go ahead and, of course, go into transcode, grab the code gen, use a transcode to bring back Code Talker, link the code talker and the code gen into Xcode. As usual, 1 code gen, 2 codec, 3 Xcode. Okay, so since I already had the exceed, I used it, but ideally, in this situation, I would have already had exceed in my hand, and I still would have added link infraflyer, or an interesting tech option here would have actually been to add a code exporter, and then I could send something back from my grave to my hand, but I just opted to go for the link infraflyer. I didn't need to do all that, so again, just little suboptimal decisions that were made. CodeGen sends a Dotscaper. Dotscaper comes to the field and links with the transcode into code talker inverted. As usual, code talker inverted chainlink 1, Cynet codec chainlink 2. Now normally this codec would be searching a light for mud skipper, but since for mud skipper is already in our hand, we go ahead and add the Cybers converter, which is yet another extender, which is just enough material for what we need. So we're gonna go ahead and of course summon out the for mud using the inverted, link that off in a talkback lancer. We activate the for mud skipper to add Gachiri. I go ahead and summon out the link infraflyer in this zone. If I had used Gachiri first and then put it here, I wouldn't have anywhere to put the link infraflyer because it needs a zone that a link monster points to. Okay, so we summon out the Gachiri, and then that gives us our firewall and protects our firewall with Gachiri. Then we link off the link infraflyer into link devotee, because we already have our firewall. We don't need any more 3 or higher, except for the transcode, which will be brought back from the talkback lancer. At this point, I realized, oh no, I forgot about Ibly. So this is one of those cases where it's like you realize, wait a minute, I forgot to get out my Ibly, and so I did chain the firewall to the link devotee, meaning I will not get the token effect, unfortunately. So I didn't actually even need to link out the link devotee. A more optimal decision would have just been to use the talkback lancer on the link infraflyer. So we get out our Ibly, link that into Baylinks. And because we had just enough material to create a Wicked, it's okay. We didn't need the tokens, but there was no reason to use that link devotee there. So we got the Sanctuary out in the field. We got the Wicked out using the Converter and the Talkback Lancer. We relinked the Baylinks, which we wouldn't have had to do if we did the combo properly, and then we pass. Our opponent sets to back row, normal summon to Rocket Synchron, which is just going to start his combo. So I immediately bounce back his normal summon along with the microcoder, so I've got some follow-up the next play. And he attempts to crash the Ibly into Baylinks. Like I said, he puts Ibly into attack position. He's like, alright, I'll just take 1,000 life point damage to get rid of this so I can actually combo. So I use Sanctuary, I pay 500 life points, and they both stay on the field. As a result, he passes his turn. I go ahead and normal summon the Foxy, which fortunately draws me a Spinny. Grab the Spinny, use that, and then that summons that to the field, which can link off into our update jammer. And since Salamangreat entered the graveyard, the Foxy went to the graveyard. Now I can special summon my Gazelle. And at this point, I've got game, because I have update jammer. I can turn it into a transcode with the Baylinks and the Gazelle and put it right here. My opponent knew this, so he quit. Real quick correction, I obviously meant access code that can attack twice because of update jammer, and it would have over 4,000 attack, so you'd use its effect to wipe back row and then attack for game. As you can see, even though I made a ton of mistakes, I still managed to handily defeat my opponent, and it's not like this is a bad player either. I mean, this is a platinum ranked player who's using Dragon Link, which is nothing to sneeze at. My friend is a Dragon Link main, and that deck is absolutely insane. Clearly, it was no match for an extra link Ibly lock board, even a suboptimal, inefficient, and mistake-ridden one. To be fair, my opponent I looked at his deck list, he was rocking a playset of Nibiru. If he had sacked a Nibiru at the start, none of that would have worked, and the game probably would have gone in the complete other direction. So it was maybe a little unlucky on his part, but I still thought that that combo was good to show off just how much that you can optimize your Code Talker gameplay, and how high the ceiling really can get with how interactive the chemistry of the deck is with each card, especially with the Salads package. So it's not all cookie cutters, even though there is a bread and butter cookie cutter combo. Alright, so just a couple more games here. So any monster plus codec plus microcoder is a combo. So Linkslayer, if you control no monsters, you can special summon it from your hand. You could do the same exact thing with Mathmech Sigma. That's going to combo into my Code Talker. I'm going to use my codec, Chainlink 1, my microcoder, Chainlink 2, because getting the spell or trap from the microcoder is not as important as getting the Ibli in my hand with codec. And at this point in the combo, most of the time you would be getting optimization because you needed to summon the Ibli. However, I still have my normal summon because the Linkslayer just special summoned, so I still have access to a normal summon. I don't actually need the optimization. They didn't negate it. I felt like they really would have negated the microcoder if they were going to negate. So I went ahead and grabbed my conflict. This is why I take conflict, you guys. You don't need to hard draw this card. And yeah, there are times when this card is a dead card because you need a Code Talker monster. But as I said, most of the time, you're probably not going to win a duel anyway if you're not controlling a Code Talker. To be fair, I did run into one duel where I had conflict and it was a dead card most of the duel, and I think I lost and it was a really grindy game and I could have won if it was a Solemn Judgment instead. So I'm just showing that searching conflict does come up, and having that Omni negate on a search is quite powerful. So that's why I take that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab that Ibli, and then since I didn't use my normal summon, I can now normal summon Ibli, link those off in transcode. Transcode with codec searches code generator and then gets chain blocked by Ibli. Now I use transcode to bring back the Code Talker, link that with the code generator to make Xcode. As usual, chainlink 1 gen, chainlink 2 codec, chainlink 3 Xcode to chain block. That's going to add our parallel exceed and send Dotscaper to the graveyard, which will come out onto the field. And it will link with transcode to form inverted. Inverted 1, codec 2, do not chain the exceed. Codec searches Formud, inverted immediately summons it to the field. That gets linked off in Talkback Lancer. The Formud skipper activates in the graveyard. Now you chain your exceed. Formud grabs my Gachiri. I use my exceed. I use my Gachiri. That's what I meant by the flexing the interaction. Negating this card makes it stronger. Then I immediately link it away into a Firewall Dragon in the middle. We're going to use a Gachiri on the Firewall to protect it from effects. We're going to link out into Link Devotee, then tribute it with the Talkback to bring back the transcode, get 2 link tokens. We're going to grab the Baylinks, then Sanctuary, relink the Baylinks, grab the Wicked, and of course set the Cynet conflict. This is an Omni negate. This is an extremely strong board. Normal summons Whitestone of Ancients, and I immediately Firewall bounce it right back to his hand alongside a microcoder from my graveyard, so I've got more follow-up. He puts Ibli in attack position and realizes a Sanctuary trick and scoops. And finally, I saved the best for last, so if you guys are still watching this late into the video, you are in for a huge treat. And if you're still watching, I really would like to give you a special thanks in the comments, so drop a like and comment whatever you learned from this video, anything that you learned, or if you didn't learn anything, if you're an experienced player and you're just dropping by to view it, first of all, thank you for watching this far into a video you don't even need to watch. Second of all, if you didn't learn anything, tell me that. Tell me that you didn't learn anything, because I need to do better if that's the case. So this is a little bit sketch of a hand, is it not? We don't have a microcoder. We don't have a means to get microcoder. We don't have a codec. Without a microcoder, we don't have a means to get codec. Without a codec, we don't have a means to get additional extenders from our deck. So what do we do? If we refer to our handy dandy flowchart, yes, we're going first. Can you extra link? Without codec, 99% of the time, no. The next option would be to Ibli and co-link Firewall. So you have Ibli to prevent the special summon, plus the co-link Firewall to bounce back one of their normal summons. It needs to be a Firewall co-linked with something so that you can bounce something back. That should suffice to stall against most decks. If you can't do that even, then you set, you pass, and you pray. So what do I do here? So we start with normal summoning Formud Skipper. By the way, this combo is completely off the top of my head. No one taught me this. This is just from experience of playing the deck. My goal in mind when I saw this was, no, I can't extra link, so I'm gonna try to get Firewall co-linked with at least one thing, hopefully 2 things, so that I can bounce back something from my graveyard as well. Let's see how far we get. So we go ahead and link the ForMud skipper into Blinks, which activates ForMud. We chain with the Blinks because the sanctuary is not as important as the ForMud skipper search, especially since we don't have codec. We get the exporter with the ForMud skipper search, not the Gachiri. You'll see why in a moment. So because of that, we do not get our Gachiri this combo at all, but you will see why I grabbed that exporter in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and link those into Code Talker, link the Code Talker and Code Generator into a transcode, use a code generator to send the IBLI. Why wouldn't I send the Dotscaper? Wouldn't I want the extender of a Dotscaper? You'll see why I sent that IBLI to the graveyard. So we're going to go ahead and use the transcode to bring back the Code Talker, and then link the Code Talker with the code exporter we grabbed using the ForMud skipper into Xcode Talker. That allows us to use the code exporter to bounce the IBLI from the graveyard back into our hand. Of course, we chain the parallel exceed. We use a parallel exceed because, again, we don't have a method of searching anything, so we need every extender we can get. Now we get our IBLI in our hand, so we've got IBLI. We had a parallel exceed to summon another one and link those off into Splash Mage over here on the right, which is way out of the way so that it's not interfering with that. So the Splash Mage brings back anything. I just brought back ForMud Skipper because it's a low level. And again, that's out of the way. It's not right here because we're using the Transcode Talker and the Splash Mage to link into our Firewall dragon. So now we do have the Firewall. Now we need to get the IBLI. And then at least then we will be able to stall out. However, if you notice, this is looking really familiar. So wait a minute. Now that I've got my Talkback Lancer linked, I can use the optional effect of Firewall Dragon to special summon the IBLI. I can link that off into Link Devotee. Of course, first we send the IBLI to the opponent's side of the field. But this is looking really familiar, right? Use a Talkback Lancer, tribute the Devotee, bring back the transcode, give us 2 tokens. Wait a minute, is that what I think it is? Is that an extra link? That is exactly what you think it is. That is an extra link IBLI lock without a codec. You will almost never see this, you guys. This is amazing. I can't believe I pulled this off. I didn't even know I would be able to pull it off until I was mid-combo. I really loved that play where I sent the IBLI with a code gen and then grabbed it with the exporter that I grabbed earlier. I thought that was a really smart play by me. And again, this is just completely winging it and using my experience with the deck. So this should really show off the ceiling of this deck. Is so incredibly high. Even when you brick, you can get a really great board. The only thing I'm missing from this board, I don't have any back row, so I don't have optimization. Obviously, I don't have codec or conflict, of course, but I have my extra link. The only other difference besides the no back row is I don't have the Gachiri protection on Firewall. That's because I searched for the code exporter so that I could get out the IBLI. Other than that, absolutely amazing board. My opponent is playing Dragon Maids. They normal summon the Chamber Dragon Maid. I Ash Blossom, negate the effect. My opponent sets 3 back row. I use my Firewall to just bounce back the Chamber Dragon Maid and the Link Infraflyer so that I've got a little extender. They chain the Dragon Maid Tidying, so that just bounces my Blinks right back to my hand. Oh well. And by hand, I mean my extra deck, of course. I go ahead and special summon my Link Infraflyer to the zone that Xcode Talker points to, and they Torrential Tribute. Oh no, whatever shall I do? Only the Xcode gets destroyed. So that's just great. You love to see it. And then they decide to Solemn Strike. They Solemn Strike my Firewall. Unfortunately for them, it won't destroy my card because I've got my Wicked Protection. So that doesn't work. I normal summon my microcoder and my opponent scoops. So as I wrap up this video, here's my deck again, just as a refresher. I just wanted to go over the most common places that I've messed up in my combos and the most common mistakes that I've made during my learning process to help those of you who are learning to avoid these mistakes. One of the most common is definitely summoning Exceed at the wrong time, such as after you summon Inverted, you do Inverted chain 1, Codec chain 2, and then if you chain 3 Exceed, you do get to still search the ForMud, but you no longer get to summon it because because the zone that Code Talker Inverted is pointing to is now being taken up by the exceed. So that would be a huge mistake. Another one would be failing to summon exceed at the right time, such as last game when I brought out my Xcode Talker, I immediately linked out my exceed. If I had not linked the exceed and summoned that out, I wouldn't have gotten my Splash Mage, I wouldn't have gotten my combo, I wouldn't have gotten my extra link. Another mistake would be failing to have a co-link, which would cause you to fail to have an extra link, and when you then summon out a Balinks, it would end up on the right monster zone instead of the right extra monster zone. It would be on the right normal monster zone, and so instead of a U link, you would have an L link, and if you make that mistake, an L is what you are going to be taking, my friend. Another mistake would be adding your parallel exceed with your 4-mod skipper search instead of your Gachiri. Then you don't get your exceed because it needs to be in the deck to special summon, and you don't get your Gachiri because you accidentally added exceed. So that would be a huge mistake. Summoning your Talkback Lancer to the left of Firewall would be another big mistake because you need it pointing down. You need it in that left extra monster zone, so it's pointing down so you do get that co-link and you do get that extra link. And finally, using Gachiri on the wrong target to special summon it. You may say, oh, Gachiri is supposed to go on Firewall, right? I mean, obviously you'd be using Gachiri to link into Firewall, but let's say Xcode. If you use your Gachiri on your Xcode, that just negates its effects, and now they get that monster zone right back. There's no reason to Gachiri any effects that you're using. If there is a situation where you need to negate an effect that you want, negate the least important effect. Those are the most common mistakes that I made. Thank you so much for watching this far in the video. I know this is a super long video. I know how tedious it can be to try to learn a new deck, and I really appreciate you for coming here to check out how to play the deck. I really appreciate you for watching this far, for having the patience to stick with this deck because it's a really fun deck to play. We should have the part 2 of this video out in the next 2 weeks, if not the next week, so be sure to stay tuned for that. That'll be all about going second, getting out that big bad boy access code with the update jammer. It will not be as long of a video. Don't worry guys, it won't be nearly as long. I won't be going into solo mode. It'll be purely replay review and VOD analysis, and we will go over some really cool and exotic combos to get out access code and more. That'll be a lot of fun, so be sure to stay tuned for that by subscribing, hitting that notification bell. This is one more reminder to drop a like. Go Blue HGB, signing off, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.